Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to be covering some things that are weird that I see watch collectors sometimes do. Now, this is in no way trying to take jabs at people or to make fun of them, but instead just kind of raise some awareness to some things that maybe don't make a lot of sense. But of course, you're more than welcome and you're free. I don't have to give you permission to do this, but you're free and welcome to do whatever you'd like. This is a hobby and it's enjoyment for everyone. So, you can do whatever you'd like, but these 5 things I think are just pretty weird. And sometimes it kind of sets a strange tone for others in the watch collecting community or for dealers. But before we do that, guys, please do not forget to check out chronograbs.com, my new watch trading marketplace where you can sign up. It's free. It's $0, 0% commission. You can buy and sell among each other. The private parties section seems to be the hottest section right now, but we also have a handful of select, highly trusted dealers that I've worked with in the past, and they've all agreed to list their watches at a significant discount from where they're selling on other marketplaces because I'm not charging commission or any kind of fees in that type of way, and so it follows that you get a better price. And also, if you do sign up now, I plan on doing another giveaway pretty soon. The last time that I did a giveaway a couple of months ago, someone out of Texas won the watch, and all they had to do was sign up for the site, which is free. You put in your information, not very much, and the drawing was actually for a Tudor Black Bay. And so I'll probably be doing, something similar, maybe an Omega Seamaster Bond or, some type of Tudor Black Bay, something like that. So you want to make sure to go and secure your sign up for this by signing up for a free account. And if you have watches to post, it takes a second to post watches. And you can also field offers from dealers where, I will shop your watches for you to other dealers out there in the industry to try to get you the best price on the watches for who I know pays the most for certain models. chronograbs.com. We'll see you over there. So let's jump into it, guys. The first thing that I see that people do, and it's kind of a faux pas, but whatever, do what you want. This is putting dress watches, especially in gold, on a canvas or a NATO strap. A dress watch on a strap that's really meant for like diving or sporting. I see this a lot, and I get it. These are comfortable straps for many, if not most, and it adds a lot of wearability to watches that maybe would otherwise be a little bit too stuffy if you're not in dressier occasions. Now, sometimes dress watches do come on, some type of textile, canvas, or cloth strap, but it might be more of a casual or kind of avant-garde style watch. But when you start putting a watch that's really made just to put on a leather strap, like an alligator or a crocodile, maybe ostrich, something like that, and you start putting it on these straps, it kind of gives off a strange look. Now, if you like the look, go for it. But I do see people do this, and even myself, especially early on in watch collecting, I would do this just for the comfortability, but it is a little bit strange, and I do see some people do this. But hey, let me know what you think about this one in the comments below. Is this a faux pas, or does it even really matter? Would love to see it and hear it below. Now that takes us into protective films. Now, with the rise of Rolex watches gaining a lot of value that we saw during COVID, and there's been some drop off in terms of, value retention and pricing. We saw all of these companies, a handful of companies really, come out with these plastic protective films that cover the metal on the watch. And I see this a lot with things like Submariners or Daytonas, where people really want to preserve the integrity of the metal on the case. Now, for stainless steel, I think unless you wear the watch incredibly hard and heavy and you're going to be banging it and denting it, you probably don't need it. You start talking about gold watches where it's going to be a little bit softer and more susceptible to scratches, hairline scratches, harder to polish. You're going to start removing the gold and reducing the value of the watch significantly just based on the actual raw material value of the watch. Maybe that starts to make a little bit more sense. But it really kind of begs the idea or the thought of, why do you have the watch if you just want it to remain perfect, right? It's kind of like someone buying a car and then never driving it. I don't see anyone putting like plastic coating on their cars. There's some types of, wraps and films and ceramic coatings, but, to actually start taking away from the look of the watch and kind of just leaving the stickers on it. It's almost like you buy like a computer monitor or a TV and you leave the plastic film on it. It's just a little strange. I get the reasoning behind it, but it's, it maybe you should consider getting a watch that you're willing to bang up and dent and, wear in a more rugged environment for that purpose, as opposed to just trying to take a watch of a higher value, of a higher price, and try to make it work in a situation where you're going to be running into scrapes and abrasions and things, and try to cover it up with film. So this one's a little bit strange. People do it. Let me know what you think. Comments below. This next one, I am very guilty of when I first started out collecting watches, in my late high school days. And this is calling dealers or walking into boutiques just to chat. Now, if you live in a place where there's, maybe not a Red Bar or a meetup, or you haven't gone to any of the, the watch forums or communities, and maybe your friends aren't really into watches, I can totally understand this. You want to try to find someone that can kind of engage with you in this passion that you have and talk about your hobbies. But a lot of times the boutiques or the dealers, they aren't really too interested in watches actually, right? It's like going to a gas station and starting, to talk about the different types of fuel to the guy working at the register. It's just probably unlikely that they're going to want to talk to you about it and, what's really in it for them. Now, if you walk in and you're planning on buying a watch, that's a different story. And I'm really not looking at this from the perspective of the dealer necessarily, but, just as a person that has gone into endless amounts of boutiques and ADs, a lot of the times they really don't know much about watches past maybe the watches that they have in stock, especially if they are an AD and they're not trading in pre-owned where they have to know all these models. So if you walk in, a lot of times you may feel kind of underwhelmed if you try to engage in more advanced topics or start talking about the movements or comparing it to other watches. So this is something that is kind of on the edge and it's gray area. It's on the fence here. Let me know what you think about this one. Have you had good experiences? Have you ever walked into an AD and maybe they really knew their stuff and they wanted to talk with you about it? Let me know, comments below. This one is also kind of strange and people did this. I hope they're still not doing this because it doesn't really matter a ton, but people will go into particularly Rolex ADs or Patek boutiques or something like that, and they'll show up with donuts or bagels or some type of gift to try to, kind of like sweet talk the person working there and try to, get the watch that they want, get the Daytona, get the sub, get whatever watch that they want, particularly Rolex. And the 80s really just don't care a lot about that. Now, maybe if you live in a small town and it's kind of like a mom and pop that still has the Rolex label, but they've kind of closed many of those over the years and kind of shifted away from these small stores that maybe didn't follow the rules the best. And when it comes to, trying to sweet talk an AD, really the way that they want you to do it is to spend a lot of money with them. They want you to buy engagement rings. They want you to buy necklaces for your wife. They want you to buy earrings, tennis bracelets. They want you to be buying all these things. And then when you get a certain spend, then they'll start giving you some of the watches, because the reality is there's really not a shortage of people that want to walk into an AD and buy a watch. Casual buyers will still say, oh, I saw a billboard for Rolex, or I saw it on the, on a banner on a tennis court or something like that at a an open, and then they'll want to just buy the watch as a casual buyer. They're not going to ask a lot of questions, and they're also going to be, spending a lot of money on these types of things. So that's really the only way to kind of like get them to listen to you for the most part. But there's always a chance, so don't take just my word for it. Give it a shot and see what happens. And lastly, and this is, really more commentary on people like me that make these videos, and this is just people will blindly listen to influencers. Now, I don't necessarily call myself an influencer because I'm not really like telling you what to do besides chronograbs.com. Like, hey, that would help me. Like, please visit it. And if it works for you, great. But other than that, it doesn't really matter to me a ton what watch you buy, or when you buy it, or who you buy it from. As long as you like and enjoy it, that's fine, right? Like, why wouldn't I want people to be happy with their watch purchase and watch collecting experience? That's totally fine. But some people sometimes will just go to some of these lists of like, you need to buy this watch, or they'll go on TikTok and this is the best watch ever, the best entry-level watch. And then they'll just blindly go and buy it without really doing their own research, without really going and looking for alternative opinions on the other side of the argument. Try to also poke holes in that and say, well, maybe why would this watch not be for me? They'll buy the watch without trying it on in a store if it's a new watch. And I see this a lot with the Tissot PRX, which is a great watch and it's hard to beat for the money, but sometimes it just doesn't fit well or sit well with people, and it's just kind of like the holy grail of affordable watches out there right now where, everyone is kind of pitching it and telling you to buy it, and sometimes it just doesn't work for people. So I always recommend do your own research. There's endless videos people make on both sides of arguments. There's blogs, there's zines. You can try it out for yourself. You can look up the specs on the manufacturer's website. Do that instead of just blindly listening to people and doing what they say, because it might not work for your particular case. Maybe it works for many or some or even most, but it might not work for you, and it could save you some time and headache on the backside of the ownership of that watch. So guys, what do you think about these things that I think are kind of weird out there that watch collectors will sometimes do? I would love to see it and hear it in the comments below. Also, please do not forget to check out chronograbs.com. Sign up for a free account so you can be entered in right away before we do the next drawing. We've got, maybe 3,700 registered members, and we get over 100,000 visitors per month. So in terms of registered members, it's really great odds for the next drawing. And it's, it is something that you should consider, especially considering it's just a quick process to sign up. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next time. You've been chatting with John P.